Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Let's paint. Okay, so this is the 6th page of the Forest Scenery watercolor coloring book that I design, print, and just make myself. And the paper is 140-pound cold-pressed paper, which is very important. And as always, you need a brush. Any brush works. Somewhere to mix your colors. I recommend a porcelain dish. This is just a soap dish. You can get these anywhere, really, any general goods store. 2 jars of water on the side. A rag or a paper towel, something to dry your brush with, and a palette. This one is the Prang mini watercolor set. I really like this one. Very affordable. And you actually get really good colors. Another one that I really like is this one, and I will leave links to everything in the description. With this one, obviously we have a grizzly climbing up a slope on a mountain forest. What I want to do with this one is I'm going to start kind of in reverse, starting with the sky. And part of the reason for that is because there's so much information right here. If we establish the sky in the background, it'll actually help distinguish between the different forms, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm getting a lot of light blue. If you have a different palette, just get a bunch of blue and use a good amount of water, because that'll make it more transparent. It'll lighten it up because you'll see more of the paper coming through. And if you add a little bit of green, it'll give it kind of like an atmospheric sky. Just a little bit, though. It doesn't need to be a lot. But so basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fill in. So this is all blue. This is blue here. Blue just kind of in between. Carefully, but if you go inside of the lines a little bit, not a big deal whatsoever. And just kind of filling all of that in like that. And remember, watercolor does dry lighter. And just kind of getting all of that in like that. And this cloud in the background, I'm just going to paint over it because I don't like it. But, you know, you can do whatever. This. And, okay, so that's good. And back here, I'm just going to paint over. There's some other colors in the background that I should have planned a little better, but I'm just going to paint right over them because it's not going to take away from the piece. Like that. There we go. Okay. That helps kind of distinguish where things are a little better. Now I rinse my brush. So the next thing that I want to do is actually create the shadows in the cloud. So the way I'll do that is I'm going to grab a little bit of brown and a little bit of dark blue. And if I mix them together, I'll get a nice gray. Now if I add more blue, it'll be more blue-gray, which is kind of what I want, since it is kind of like a shadow in the sky because it's on the cloud. And that's pretty much the color that I want. If you want to watch how I lay down the shadows for the cloud first and then do it yourself, it may make it a little easier. But basically, I'm kind of looking at the clumps of the cloud and where the lines are. And so I'm just going to add a little bit, like for example over here, just add a little bit like that. A little bit like this. And then once I establish all of these, eventually I'm going to go back in and pull out some of those colors. And I'll show you what I mean. Just a moment here. Just kind of trying to do this kind of carefully. But okay, so I have all of this. I'm gonna rinse my brush and then kind of fade out some of those colors. Fade them outward and upward. But I still want to have nice clumps of white in the cloud. I don't want it to be all gray. So, like for example, over here, I'm going to put a little more on this side, like this. And then kind of fade it out. And then same back here, just a little bit. Okay. And so the next thing, I'm going to grab a bunch of this green right here. Get a good amount of water, and a lot of the green. There's a lot of green in this image. And basically just start filling in. So like back here, I'm gonna fill in all of this. Going forward. I'm imagining that the sun is coming from this side, so that's, you'll see why in a moment. But filling in a lot of green, leaving some white space in some of these. A lot of green, getting that, okay. Filling all of that, like that. All that. Okay. Now, for the spots that I left the white, I'm just gonna grab yellow and I'm just gonna lay it in, but let it intentionally bleed in and mix with the green. And it gives just these really nice variations of yellow and green, just like something you may see in the forest. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And I'm gonna get a good amount of green more. And basically I'm gonna start filling in from the bottom. And this is yellow green, by the way. If you don't have the exact same yellow or the exact same green in your palette, just add yellow. And that's really all you need to do for that. Okay, so I'm adding all of this green here, going up towards this direction. And I'm gonna rinse my brush so I can kind of fade it out. Like that. Going upwards. Like that. And the part where the bear is walking on, I want to actually throw in some dirt, just so that it's not all so similar. Like I want to break up the monotony of just the same exact thing by adding a little bit of dirt in here. Because, you know, usually in the forest it's just a chaotic mixture of dirt and grass and rocks and all sorts of things. And adding a little bit of this makes it just look a little more realistic. There we go. Like that. Rinse my brush. And you can kind of blend in the edges. And I will go back in after this all dries and create some more definition. But for now, that's good. And so I'm gonna grab this and then go in here on the other side of this boulder here and go like this. Rinse my brush. Let me fix this a little bit. There we go. Next, I want to mix some gray, but I want it to be different from the gray that I used in the cloud. So I want it to be more brown gray. So I'm going to grab the brown here and mix that in, and then grab some more of the blue. The boulders are just going to be a more brownish gray. So the way I'll do that is first I'm going to start laying in colors here, kind of avoiding some of the plants that are in front of it. Like that. And I'm gonna add a little more here. I'm kind of looking for where the shadows would be. It's basically what I'm doing, is kind of like placing these markings where the shadows would be. Just a little bit here, like that, a little bit here. And then I'm gonna rinse my brush, get a little more water, and then just kind of do a wash to fade all that out. And back here. Gonna rinse my brush completely, dry it off, and then pick up some of that. Like that, and like that. And just, it creates that three-dimensional feel, but also kind of like fading that you would see on rocks. And you can see we established these colors very quickly. Oop, threw a little bit on there. Now I'm going to use the same thing, just a little more brown, like that. Get a little more of the blue. Do the same thing over here. Just kind of lay that in. And rinse my brush, and then kind of fade that out, just like we did here. There we go. After that, I'm going to get more of the darker green. And if you need to mix this green, you just need to add some blue. There's green and blue. And for this, I'm going to add this color over here. Just kind of like that. More towards the base. And over here as well. And rinse my brush and kind of draw out some of that color. There's still a little bit of color on the brush, but basically just pulling out some of those colors. And rinse my brush again, dry it off, and then maybe remove some of that just to create highlights. Like that. There we go. And then adding some brush strokes here and there for the grass. And here, like that. There we go. And I'm gonna grab some green, and this time I'm going to add a little bit of teal And I want to use these colors for the tree line all the way in the background. So I'm going to put that in here. And you can tell it's a little more faded. It doesn't have to be super strong colors just because it's more of a background. It doesn't need the same level of emphasis. There we go. Rinse my brush. And then I forgot these boulders down here, or these rocks I should say. I'm not sure at what level a boulder becomes a rock, but okay. There we go. Like that, and then I'm just gonna pick up some of that excess. Okay. And so next, actually I'm gonna use that same green. I'm gonna add a little more over here, kind of like that. Maybe a little more over here. There we go. Rinse. Fade that out. Okay, we're good. Next thing is I want to mix more of this yellow green. And grab a little bit of brown. Yeah, I need a lot more yellow. I grabbed too much brown, so now I need to shift it more towards the yellow green. Maybe I'll rinse some off. There we go. Okay. And now I can go ahead and just, some of the blades of grass, I'm just gonna put a little bit more down here so that I can push the viewer's eye more towards this way. So I'm just kind of doing these short vertical strokes, pushing things towards this way. There we go. Okay, and a little bit here, a little bit down here, a little bit up here where the moss is, like that. Okay, a little bit here and there, making the whole image much more interesting. There we go. Rinse my brush. And now I do want to mix a darker color for the boulders so that I can create some contrast. But also, I'm going to use that for the birch trees. So basically, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. I don't want it to be too dark, but I'm gonna make some marks over here like that. A little bit here. Kind of like that. Just slowly and carefully adding where I think it would be darkest. Kind of in between a little bit. Over here. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush and fade out some of those edges. Like that. There we go. I rinse my brush again and then maybe pick up a little bit of the excess over here. There we go. It makes it look much more three-dimensional. And then same with back here. Just less detailed just because it's further away, but you can still make out the details. I rinse my brush. Like that. There we go. And then also down here, this one, just less concentrated, just so that it's not as much of an eye grab. But also, now I'm just gonna grab this and use it to make the marks on the birch trees. Like that. And I don't have to do all of them, but I do want some here and there, enough to show that these marks are there. Just a little bit here and there, like that. Okay, I'll rinse my brush. Looking pretty good. I'll rinse my brush again, and I'm gonna grab some of the brown and then some of the darker green. And I will use this color to add a little bit of shading and also color variation for the trees up here. So basically I'm just gonna do a little bit of this, a bit of shadow, like that. A little bit back here, like that. A little bit. And you may be wondering why not use the other color, the other green, to create this. Part of the reason is this actually gives more of a contrast, but also at the same time introduces a different color. So it just makes it a little more interesting. Just rinsing my brush. And we're almost done with this one. I do want to mix kind of like a bluish gray, just to add as just a slight shadow here for the birch trees, just on this side, just kind of like that. Just very faintly on one side, and you can tell how it immediately just makes them look three-dimensional. Okay, I missed my brush. Oh, maybe a little more. Just a little more over here. There we go. Okay, rinse my brush. And next, I'm just gonna need another little mixing plate. I'm gonna get some brown and some yellow, just because I still have to mix the colors on the bear. I have not forgotten about that. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and start laying in those colors. Initially, I'm putting them down where I think the shadows should be. Like that. Okay. I'm gonna rinse my brush completely and then just kind of draw out the rest of the color towards the front of the bear. There we go. I'll rinse my brush again. And while the bear is drying, I'm going to mix up a shadow color, which is going to consist of brown and, you guessed it, blue. And these two colors together, I'm using more blue just to make it more of a shadow. I can use these two colors together, for example, to do a cast shadow, let's say a little bit from the rocks here, going down this way, a little bit this way, from the boulders, like that. Definitely a little bit over here. Like that. Maybe I should cover this. There we go. Okay. And underneath the bear, just like this. I'm just kind of overlaying it where the shadow of the bear would be. There we go. I could put down some shadows for the birch trees going down this way, but I am worried that it's going to mess it up. So I'm just not going to worry about it right now. But I will add a little more of the brown here for the bear, like that. Here. There we go. Add a little bit of some short brush strokes just for the texture. Like that. Maybe dry off my brush a little bit and then pull out some of the lighter color like that. There, I think that looks better. Maybe a little more over here. There we go. And just a little bit over here. Like, I don't know. There we go. Rinse my brush. I'm just stepping back for a moment just to take a look. Okay, yeah. All right, so we're done with that one. And again, as always, if you ever have any questions, shoot me a message, leave me a comment. I usually respond within 24 hours. And with that, I will see you at the next one.